The 8-track cartridge tape came out in the late 60s and was a high competitor with the cassette tape format. And cassette actually sounded better eventually, but I think 8-track sounded better in the beginning until they figured out how to record on cassettes. But the 8-track was often frowned upon because the machines would, typically you'd use these in your car and your car would eat them, or the pinch rollers in them would melt, or whatever the case might be. And of course, the fidelity was very, very limited. But in many cases, just like cassette, if you had an 8-track recorder in your house, you could make better recordings than the ones that you bought at the store. Yes, it's true. So here is a deck that I found that I actually grew up with. My parents were in a bluegrass band, and my dad would make tape recordings off of recordings, and actually released some of their tapes on the 8-track format. So this was the unit that was often used for that purpose, and ours was not a JCPenney. It was a BSR McDonald, if I'm not mistaken. But this thing has some really cool features on it. Now, obviously, if you are an 8-track collector, you probably want to get a hold of a Pioneer deck as your main source of playing your tapes, because they're fantastic. But this one, I think, comes into a close second. I mean, this thing is really decked out, pun intended. But let me go over some of the cool features this thing has that are just amazing for an 8-track player, okay? So for example, we have some microphone inputs here on the front. We have a modern font on all of the labels of all of the buttons. So it looks like this thing could have been made last year, but was obviously made in the 70s. Or maybe 80s, actually. So we've got pause. We have an eject button. So you can push this button, and I'll show you how it works. You push that button, and it actually pushes the tape out, so you can grab a hold of it. We have an auto stop eject button. So once you play through all of your programs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, the machine will stop and punch the tape out, kick the tape out, so you don't have to hear it over and over again. You have a fast forward button, so you can scurry through the tape and find the song, or reach the end of the program and start the tape over again. You have a repeat button, which essentially turns off the program selector. So if it reaches the end of track 1, it will continue and play track 1 again over and over again until you turn it off. This machine records, so you have a record button there, and of course your program selector. Now, a feature I have not seen on very many 8-track decks is this feature right here. This is a real-time counter. So it actually shows you minutes and seconds versus random numbers that mean nothing to you except to index a song. And so you could actually time out your music and keep your music from playing through the track selector, the automatic track selector. So a very, very cool feature. This unit has 2 VU meters, and one of which is stuck. You can see it there on the left, although when I play it here in a few minutes, you will see it move around a little bit. But when I flick it, it goes back to the 20 decibel setting there on the left. Has 2 nicely sized record level buttons, or knobs, there on the front, and you have a headphone jack. So the other cool thing that I like about this is it has a very nice, cool green backlit display on the meters. So to show you that, I'm going to kick my light off here. Here are your VU meters with the green backlit display on, which is really, really cool. Almost reminds me of a street light or something at night, that kind of thing. And of course you have a record indicator right there in the middle, so that when you are recording, the record light lights up there in the center. So let's go through some of the features on this thing, actually see them demonstrated as opposed to just listing them. First, let's go into the unit and see the main parts that drive this amazing mechanism. Right now we are peering down into the well where the tape goes, the tape cartridge slot. And right in the center of your screen there is the tape audio pickup head. And do you see that white ring around it, that white plastic container sort of thing that it's sitting in there, maybe like a swing? It is very common to find that that particular piece is broken, and that's exactly what happened in this case. On the bottom left corner, you may be able to see the little crack line there, but that part was cracked, which made the tape head lean a little bit to the left or hang down and to the left. And because of that, it would be, it would skew your tape alignment, so your tracks wouldn't play properly. So that had to be fixed. And the way I did it is I just used a soldering iron and heated the plastic up so that it would mold back together. I did use a little bit of super glue, and unfortunately I got a little bit of super glue on the tape head itself. So I got to get me some super glue remover and remove that splotch that you see on there. But luckily the splotch is in between the audio pickup heads, so I'm good to go there. On the far left there, you're going to see those two vertical lines sitting next to each other. Those happen to be the sensor that picks up the aluminum foil tape that goes across the head. So once the aluminum foil that's part of the tape hits those two sensors, it creates a circuit, which then causes the program to change, which changes the position of the head. So therefore, you're playing 4 different programs, each stereo. That's how you come up with 8 tracks. On the right of your screen, next to those yellow wires, is the capstan, which connects to the pinch-roller inside of the cassette cartridge and creates the pinch to pull the tape through. Here's a look at the top of the 8-track deck, looking down into the unit, and I'm going to zoom in here on a particular piece that I wanted to show you that's kind of an unusual piece. You saw it in that last scene, but in this one here, I wanted to show you this little piece right here. Do you see that? This is the piece that actually pushes the tape back out after you press the eject button, which is really cool. I'll show you how that actually works on the underside, but here, let me see if I can demonstrate it. I'm just going to hold down the switch here. There we go. So when I press the eject button there, you'll see it moving forward. Pretty neat. As far as the way this thing is set up, there is the belt that runs the tape counter there, the real-time tape counter. And then the way it selects or changes tracks is really unusual. In fact, if you've ever taken a 2XL 8-track robot apart, and I have a demonstration of one of those on my channel, the mechanism is very similar to this. In fact, it's identical. What it does is, this is a solenoid here. So when you press the program change button, it activates a magnet, an electromagnet, which then comes down, and then as this little piece here turns, it causes this to push on that piece there, which then flips a little table underneath here and then changes the position of the head. So in order to repair this white plastic piece that we talked about, this part right here, I had to take this all apart. So I had to pop this little C-clip off here, I had to pull this little board out and pull all this stuff out so that I could get the head piece off, because it slides up this rod right here. So there's 2 rods. There's this one, and then there's one behind it. And there's also a switch that's kind of like a, I don't know, it's a switch on a circle, on a disc, really. And the disc, depending on what the position of the head is, creates a circuit inside of here, and then tells you on the front via LEDs or lights what channel you're on, what track you're on. So you can see the track numbers indicated right there by number. So really some cool engineering that went into this thing, and it just goes on and on as far as that goes. So let me see if I can demonstrate this for you here as well. I'm going to have to do some fancy finger work here. Alright, so I'm going to push the button in, get this moving. So you can see the head has 4 positions in it. So there's track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, and then back up to track 1 again. So you see every time I press that little booger down there activates and does a little twisty turn thing, changing the location. Alright. Now, you may have noticed, I don't know if you can hear it in the microphone because I've got it up to my mouth, there is probably a bad capacitor in here that's allowing noise from the motor to come back through the system. It almost sounds like a, I don't know, like an ultrasound or something of what it sounds like inside of the womb. Let me play a little bit of that for you here. I'm going to take my microphone off. play that for you. It's kind of a funky sound, actually. Listen to this. Before we get to the underside of the mechanism, I wanted to show you kind of the circuitry setup here and what all this stuff is organized. Here's the lights that are in the back that are backlighting the front display. Beyond that, we have our record and playback board that's right here. We have a transformer here, and that transformer runs into this board right here, which is your AC to DC converter, as well as some cleanup there via those capacitors of the signal, the power signal. Go around to the back, and the jack pack is just screwed onto the back, and there is this cool little switch here. It's 3-position, so you have high, medium, and low sound output, and you can select that via the switch right here. When I went to clean this thing up, this was one of the switches that I cleaned, and it's very important because otherwise it'll be staticky coming through there if you don't clean that switch. Here's your output, RCA, stereo. Here's your input, RCA, stereo as well. And let's see, there was another thing I was going to show. Oh, these two switches you see here, you'll see those two long silver things. Hold one camera here, and then I can point. Yeah, these guys right here. When you press record, this entire metal piece goes forward and pushes on those. Big, long selector switch. So it changes it from the mode of recording to playback, or vice versa. And these switches really need to be cleaned if they haven't been, because again, static noise can come through, or you can be recording and only have the left channel or the right channel, or have static in one channel and no sound in the other. And that all happens via these two long switches here. So I took some spray, contact cleaner, and sprayed down inside of those to get those cleaned up. All right, so now let's go on the underside of the unit so I can show you that mechanism that actually ejects the tape. It's pretty sweet. We're now looking at the underside of the tape drive, and underneath here you'll see the drive motor spindle, which is here, and the flywheel, which is attached to the capstan, okay? And it has this little gear thingy on the bottom here, and then there's this big wheel. Well, this solenoid, when you press eject, the solenoid activates, which kicks this forward just a hair, and then this big Ferris wheel here, attached to this gear, begins to spin, which then drives that little rod forward that we saw earlier. So let me go ahead and stick my finger in the front here and activate the motor. Isn't that cool? So then, of course, the motor continues to spin, but once the tape is knocked out, then obviously the sound, or the motor would stop as well. So let me see if I can actually hit it with my finger here. Okay, motor on, eject. I'll show you one more time. I can hold that button in, and it holds that solenoid in. Do you see that? It doesn't care how many times I press it, does it? Of course, it only works once, even though I press it multiple times. But yeah, so now let's see what the tape actually looks like when we are pressing that eject button. What is happening up top? So I have my tape inserted, and now I'm going to go ahead and hit eject and watch the crazy action. And it shuts off. Push the tape back in. Whoa, it's like magic, dudes. All right, so now what we need to do is play some music for you so you can hear the fabulous sound quality of this machine. So other than that noise in the background, we'll just pretend that's not happening until I can get a capacitor replaced or whatever. So the story behind this tape here is this tape was recorded on a Pioneer 8-track deck that I reviewed on my channel, and the recording that's on it came from digital compact cassette. It's an actual pre-recorded digital compact tape that I had bought, still have a copy of it, transferred it to 8-track via that Pioneer, and it has a very good sound quality. So let me demonstrate that for you. I'm not going to play very long of each particular sound demo to keep the copyright police out of my hair, but so I'll play you little bits and pieces of each track. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of this JCPenney 3331 stereo 8-track deck. Now remember, the music that I just played was not from Henry Mancini or from this original 8-track. This 8-track had been recorded over. The material is actually from a DCC tape called Digital Compact Concert, I believe was the name of it. I went upstairs to see if I still had it, and I think I sold it along with my DCC deck, my realistic one, not that long ago. So if you want to see my digital compact cassette deck that I had made by Optimus, you can look at that on my channel as well. I also have a video that I made about my JVC playback only 8-track deck, and you can see that on my channel if you just want to see more 8-track stuff from the databits channel. So again, I appreciate you watching. Hope this was fascinating to you. The features on this thing are just amazing. Just, this is what an 8-track deck should have been to, all these features included on every deck. But again, I would give thumbs up to a Pioneer over this one in its recording and playback capability. And probably those decks are not having that strange audio noise problem that this one's having as well. So if you like the video, please like it, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel, view some more videos of mine while you're here. You can check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/1databits. And on that Facebook page, I frequently just post pictures of things that I find as I find them. So sometimes you'll get to see the item on Facebook before I make a video about it. So check that out. And again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.